Some of the NBA's greatest players will always be linked to their signature moves, from the graceful skyhook to the no-look pass to the soaring slam dunk. George Gervin put his own signature on the game with the finger roll, and it helped make him a basketball legend. The player known as the Iceman is next on Vintage NBA.
Yes, basketball has changed. It's always been a great game, but now it has a new spirit.
He dunks like Dr. J. He might be the new Iceman.
The modern day Wilt Chamberlain.
He looked like Magic Johnson.
The future has arrived.
You are watching what greatness is all about.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Vintage NBA. I'm Robin Roberts. This week, we turn back the clock to the NBA's Ice Age. Our subject, the Iceman himself, George Gervin. We'll look at his career, his legacy, and some of the other great nicknames from his era. Back in the 70s and 80s, Gervin was lighting up the scoreboards in both the ABA and the NBA. But while he played in San Antonio, he grew up in Detroit, the hometown of many NBA stars, past and present. One of them is the Atlanta Hawks' Steve Smith, who idolized Gervin when he was just a kid. Today, Steve's in the chair to talk about the master of the finger roll, George Gervin.
This is the shot that made Ice famous. Uh-oh. You hear all the stories. I mean, there's not a George Gervin story I won't know, I don't think.
Hi, I'm George Gervin of the San Antonio Spurs.
Ice was a thing in Detroit, and he still is. I mean, he's probably the most famous player to ever come out of Detroit, and always will be.
At the other guard position from Eastern Michigan at 6 feet 8 inches, number 44, George Gervin.
When they used to have the Round Ball Classic, there was a little team they had that toured. I was the ball boy. I got a chance to be the ball boy, and I used to get balls from George and throw it to him. I don't know if you remember me back then, but everywhere George was at, I was trying to be at in Detroit. When George played in the All-Star game back in the Silverdome in Detroit, I got a chance to go to the game.
The Iceman, smooth.
And that was my most memorable game of George. Actually, I had the same shoes that George wore in that game in my house that I got from an auction, you know, for a good price.
Iceman drives for the hoop. Isn't that pretty?
Everything was easy to him. The whole game of basketball was easy to him. And a lot of times, you know, as guys my age, it's a struggle sometimes because you're thinking. This is the shot that made Ice famous. Uh-oh. George knew what he was doing before he got the ball, and when he got the ball, he knew what he was going to do. He was going to put it in the hole.
Gervin, who can hit it anywhere.
George never got rattled. I mean, the game could be tight. George had the same look on his face. The game could be a blowout. He could have had 40, he could have had 10. He never too much. He never had 10 too much, but George always kept the same composure, the same mannerism, and he always scored the same way. And that's why he's called Ice.
George Gervin, nicknamed the Iceman because of his calculated, cool shooting style.
When you know him by your nickname, that means you really, really could play.
Gervin, the Iceman again. Hello.
Everything with George was all skills.
My basketball game is shooting a long jumper, so I'm going to try to carry it all out.
You cannot let the Iceman penetrate. You cannot let the Iceman shoot the jumper.
He didn't jump high, only when he had to. He didn't sweat, only when he had to. And, you know, he had the most famous shot in the world, the finger roll, and he mastered it.
This is the shot that made me famous. Finger roll. One thing I can do is finger roll.
George's finger roll, you know, most guys finger roll, and they go in there, and you're hoping it goes in. But George put a little flair in his. You know, George would give you the flick, and it would just drop.
Finger roll, puts it up and in. No one does it better than George Gervin.
George's finger roll from three-point land on the side. He was hitting it off the backboard and using both hands.
He has great body control, and it makes him very difficult to defend.
This is the poster I had on my wall when I was growing up. I think this is the poster everybody in our neighborhood had on their wall. This is the most famous poster, I think, in basketball history. when you're young and impressionable like I was with George, I tried to do everything. George wore this little necklace, was like an eagle. I don't know if I got the same exact eagle, but I went to the little flea market in our neighborhood looking for this exact eagle. I did everything George did. I wore my socks. I tried to get his numbers, whatever I could, and just to be like George.
Smitty, the clutch and go, and he floats it in.
Nice finger roll like his idol, George Gervin.
I'm 6'8", he was 6'8", skinny. We both from Detroit. I wear number 8, 4 + 4 is 8. That's for George. I followed George and whatever he did and tried to emulate. Everything about basketball was because of Ice, I think, for me. I mean, I love the game, but then having a guy that come from the city of Detroit that I could look up to who, you know, rewrote all the records as far as being a person who can score. I mean, Ice is one guy I love to say thank you for everything he's did for inspiring me and being my role model, and he's always will be my role model. This is a shot that made Ice famous. One thing he could do was finger roll. That's good. There we go.
After all these years, Steve is still trying to get that finger roll down. And he still has his Iceman poster, but you know what? He is not the only one. I happen to have mine too, and here it is. That's right. The famous shot of George sitting on those blocks of ice. It is timeless. Now, how did he get famous enough to have his own poster like this? We'll see in a moment as we trace his rise to stardom.
I didn't sweat much at that time, you know, because I was 160 pounds, so I didn't really have that much water in me to sweat. So that's how I really got my nickname. You know, Fatty Rolling Taylor and Julius Erving started calling me Ice, and I'm Ice now. Well, I remember I took this guy to the hole one time, and I finger rolled on him, and the guy told me, he said, you need to have some coffee with that roll there. Now, that was some funny stuff, man. I love the game. When he told me that, that took me to another level.
The finger roll helped take George to the level of superstar. But in high school, he wasn't considered much of a player. That began to change with some help from the school janitor, who allowed Gervin to practice shooting in the gym at night on one condition: he sweep up afterwards. Turned out to be quite a deal. All those hours of practice helped make him one of the game's greatest scorers. And for George, it was no sweat, literally. He had a style that earned him a very cool nickname.
No one does it better than George Gervin. You've said it a million times, but you can say it a million more.
Everybody liked George when George joined the Squires, because, you know, George was minding his own business. He just came in, he wanted to play, but he didn't have a nickname.
Nice move by Gervin.
And, you know, GG wasn't working. And we had another George on the team, so we couldn't just call him George.
I didn't sweat much at that time, you know, because I was 160 pounds, so I really had that much water in me to sweat. So that's how I really got my nickname. You know, Fatty Rolling Taylor and Julius Erving started calling me Ice, and I'm Ice now.
They call him the Iceman, Mr. Cool.
Well, Ice was real cool. That's what he was on the court. He was real smooth on the basketball court. He was good under pressure. So I think that nickname was great for him.
Everybody know Iceman, but if you know George Gervin. You know, I mean, kids, like, you know, I go say, I'm George Gervin. They say, who? Who are you? I said, Iceman.
George Gervin grew up in Detroit with aspirations of playing in the NBA. After starring in Eastern Michigan, he followed his dreams to the ABA in 1972.
The story on him was, he was like one of those guys that was hidden away somewhere.
I came out of Eastern Michigan, and this guy stands out there and he shoots, you know, three-point shots like they're layups, and he shoots layups differently than anybody else.
Gervin now starting to take things in his own hands.
I told people, I remember at the Daily News where I was working at the time, and I said, you know, there's another guy there that's just as good as Julius. And they like laughed, you know, yeah, the ABA guy, you know, what do you know? It was George Gervin.
In 1976, Gervin took his act to a bigger stage. His San Antonio Spurs became one of 4 ABA teams to join the NBA.
Gervin will wheel and deal.
I love basketball. I didn't just play it because I could. I played it because I loved it. You know, and I think understanding that, you know, it made me play different. And you know, when I went out there on the floor, I didn't think nobody could stop me.
And look at that shot by George Gervin.
In our scouting reports before the game, we would say, we're going to rattle him. We're going to play him tough. We're going to beat him up a little bit. and he would just absorb all the punishment and smiling along. And he'll have 30 at halftime or something. And say, this is not working.
And the Iceman, what a play. So much control.
George was almost effortless. He just didn't look like he was putting out that much energy and scoring the ball that easily. And then he always had, you know, the finger roll.
George Gervin, what he does with a basketball is almost incredible.
Those finger rolls from the free throw line or even from behind the backboard, he could score at will. He could score inside and outside. He was just a great player.
My strength was my imagination. When I practiced, I just say, I'm going to finger roll this over Kareem. And I used to be in the gym by myself, and I'll go work on a finger roll. I think that was really the key for me.
Check that shot out. The ultimate finger roll.
You know, I just think that was just a great shot for me. Because hardly could nobody block it. You know, you just roll it over their fingertips, you know, and they think they got it, and it just rolled over.
You wanted to have some fun. It was after practice when we were standing around just messing around. The Iceman would be behind the basket, flipping things up, finger rolls from the corner behind the basket. Swish. The guy was amazing.
And this may go.
It does. The shot is good by Gervin. Unbelievable.
Best part of the game with me is playing in front of the fans. After the game, they tell me, man, you know, you didn't win, but you really entertained me tonight.
George Gervin.
That was it.
They knew when they came to see Ice, you know, they was going to at least do this one time. Oh, good shot. What a life.
George Gervin just loved putting on a show, and one of his greatest performances came back in 1978. The NBA scoring race came down to the final day of the season. The Nuggets' David Thompson seemed to have it wrapped up when he scored 73 points in a day game. Gervin would need 58 to beat him. So that night, George went out and put up 63 points in just 33 minutes to win his first NBA scoring title. Later on, we'll relive another of Gervin's memorable moments from the '79 playoffs against Philadelphia. But up next, we'll be naming names as we look back at some of the other catchy nicknames from the Ice Age. Welcome back, everyone, to Vintage NBA. As you know, each week we travel back in time, but not usually as far back as the Elizabethan days. But it was William Shakespeare who asked, what's in a name? Well, Shakespeare himself was known as the Bard, so he might have asked, what's in a nickname? And if you played in the NBA, the answer would be a lot. On NBA.com, you can check out some of the greatest nicknames past and present, like the Admiral, the Mailman, Sir Charles, just to name a few. There are quite a few, in fact, these days. But back in the Iceman's days, nicknames were so prevalent, they even became part of the game.
Nicknames in the 70s seemed to be a pretty important thing.
You had to have your own thing, like, and it couldn't be like Earl Monroe. You had to be Earl the Pearl Monroe. You couldn't be like Walt Frazier. You had to be Clyde Frazier, like Bonnie and Clyde. And you couldn't be like just a cool player out playing. You got to be the Iceman.
I think it was a way of helping teams to bond and, you know, creating these, you know, alter egos, which made it easier to make the transition from your personal life to, you know, your life on stage.
Ironically enough, Shakespeare also wrote that all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So who were the players with some of the most famous nicknames? Well, there was Nate Tiny Archibald. No further explanation required, I assume. Marvin Webster was known as the Human Eraser for his ability to block a shot and erase a potential basket. And David Thompson was called the Skywalker for his high-flying style. John Havlicek was dubbed Hondo because a teammate decided he looked like John Wayne, and you know what, he does a little bit there in the movie of the same name. Also from the movie world came the Chief, given to Robert Parrish, after the stone-faced character called the Chief in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Nicknames are part of our social consciousness in the 70s and 80s, not just in the sports arenas, but everywhere around us. When we turned on the TV, Uncle Walter Cronkite was telling us the latest about our president, Tricky Dick Nixon. Turn the channel, there was Mr. T, Hawkeye, the Fonz, or the Meathead from All in the Family. If we reach for the turntable, yes, I said turntable, we were often listening to the godfather of soul, James Brown, or maybe even the queen of soul herself, Aretha Franklin. Also, yeah, the boss, Bruce Springsteen. In the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs had the Whopper, Billy Pultz, Special K, Larry Keenan, James Snake Silas, and of course, the Iceman. And up next, the Iceman returneth. By the way, the Iceman cometh was written not by Shakespeare, no, Eugene O'Neill. We're just trying to keep you honest, folks. Anyway, we'll go back to George Gervin's rookie season in the ABA as his Virginia Squires meet the Kentucky Colonels in the 1973 playoffs, so stay with us. The Virginia Squires of the ABA will not go down as one of the greatest teams ever, but they did have two of the greatest players ever, who were just starting to make a name for themselves, Julius Erving and George Gervin. Gervin joined the Squires in 1973, and we thought we'd take a look at George as a rookie, while also getting a taste of the old ABA, including that funky red, white, and blue ball. In this week's Airwave Archives, it's Game 3 of the 73 Eastern Division semifinals between the Squires and the Kentucky Colonels. Virginia's down by 2 in the closing seconds.
They'll play it out from midcourt. 11 seconds to go. The clock doesn't start until somebody touches it. Everybody in the ballpark knows who they want to go to.
Somebody
Ladner and Erving.
They're sagging off at Gervin. They're letting him get the ball in too easily. Watch your back door.
To Akins. Akins looking. 9 seconds. Akins and Gilmore. Akins forces it. Gervin got a crack at it underneath. Gervin wrestles it. 3 seconds and a whistle. 2 seconds to go in the ball game. And George Gervin is getting a pat on the rump, one on the head. He will have 2. Fatty Taylor in, George Gervin out. Akins forced the shot, but the Squires kept the ball alive.
Shot was short. The Colonels just couldn't find the handle on to get the rebound.
Gervin will have 3 to make 2. He's a good free throw shooter. Let's see what he's made of. Two now to make 1. 2 seconds to go in the ball game, and the Colonels now take a timeout. It'd be interesting to see if the Squires' defense is a bit too aggressive. Of course, they want to play the Colonels tough. They don't want to give them anything easy. Mount has gone down along the baseline with Issel. Gilmore is at the top of the key. Mike Gale is guarded by Julius Erving, and we have 2 seconds to go in the ball game.
Mount's coming in for a 3-point play.
Ladner tosses it up for Gilmore. Erving knocked it down, and we'll go overtime. Squires have the lead in the basketball. They're on top by 2. Erving in the middle of a stack underneath. Akins is short. Issel paws it out to O'Brien. So Kentucky has it with a minute to go. Rick Mount is grabbed by Taylor, and the Rocket tried to throw one up. Erving is playing with 5 personals. And that one gladly. 56 seconds. The Rocket will have 1. A lot of wheels turning here. 110-109 with 56 seconds. 21 points for Rick Mount, and the Colonels are pressing.
Goody grab, goody grab.
Gervin to Akins. The Squires lead by 1 with 45 seconds in overtime. Don't foul, the clock will run out. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Just don't let him score. Come on, Irish. 6 seconds. Akins. It rolls away, and O'Brien has it. Issel's all alone. Dan Issel all alone slams it. 20 seconds to go in the game. The Colonels lead by 1. Top. Backcourt pressure on George Gervin. 18 seconds to go in the ball game. Help. Stolen by Mike Gale. Gale will race in. He'll get it. Mike Gale stole it from Irving. The Colonels go up by 3 with 11 seconds to go in the ball game. Irving dribbling. Irving to Johnson. 6 seconds and Johnson is grabbed. What do you mean? What are we getting so excited about?
113, 110.
Tremendous defensive pressure as Joe Mulaney put 3 guards into the ball game. Jimmy O'Brien just said as cool as could be, hey, what's the score? Do we have 113? The fans heading to the exits with 5 seconds to go, and Neil Johnson will have 1. It's good. Get away, get away. They're pressing in the backcourt. Throw it out. And they nail the big guy with just 1 second gone. 113, 111. They'll walk down the other end of the floor. And Artists will have 3 to make 2. And John, we said this was going to be a most important ball game, but when it started some 2.5 hours ago, we didn't figure it would be like this at this point.
No, I don't believe either one of us thought it would wind up this way on such a happy note to wind up like this, coming from behind. You know, it's been a long time since the Colonels have come from behind to pull one out, and this might be just the thing that they need, Howard. Now to swing the momentum over to their side. It's going to put the monkey on the Squires' back for Friday night's game.
No doubt about it, John. We talk about the psychology. The Squires kept fighting, coming back in the ball game. But whoever loses here tonight, and it looks like it's going to be Virginia, is going to have a tremendous emotional letdown after working so hard just to get a loss in the column. No different than the 129-101 game, really.
Great. Artists made that one. It makes this one. They can sit on the floor and let the Squires dribble it all the way in.
Upcoming, a preview of the Cincinnati Reds. We don't know if they'll be as exciting as the Colonels were tonight. Artists will have 1 more. The Colonels lead by 3. They'd like to get this one in.
Bang it in.
They do get it. Backcourt pressure. They throw it into Irving. Tipped out of bounds right in front of us. And they just lost 1 second. 3 seconds. Action right in front of us.
Just back off. That's right. O'Brien's got the right idea. Don't foul.
And they can let the Squires waltz in and give somebody a free 2-pointer. And then just let the time run out and sit for Friday's game with a 2-to-1 edge.
4-pointer.
Here's Akins. He'll never have an easier one than that. 1 second. That's it.
Quick footnote on the Squires. They may be the only team to have ever played home games in 4 different cities: Norfolk, Hampton, Roanoke, and Richmond. Anyway, they lost that series to Kentucky, and the next year they lost their 2 young stars. Dr. J became a New York Net, while George Gervin was sent to San Antonio, where he blossomed as one of the ABA's best players. The question was, how would he do in the NBA? The answer would come soon enough, as we'll see next in the '78 playoffs. First, some reflections from Gervin on his days with the Squires.
I think my favorite time is when I first started playing professional basketball with the Virginia Squires, and I had an opportunity to come to Virginia and play with Julius Erving. I think that's really my highlight of my career, my beginning.
In just their 2nd season in the league, San Antonio became division champions, and Gervin was a league scoring champ, averaging 27 a game. But the true test came in the playoffs against Washington, with future Hall of Famers Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld. So let's go back to Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, April 16th, 1978. We pick it up in the third quarter. The Spurs against a team formerly known as the Bullets.
Here goes Tom Henderson. Very good first half for him. Rebound. Here comes Keenan. Keenan to Gervin, and there's that running game.
That's the game right there. This is what they want. They have got to come out and run the Bullets. But in order for them to run the Bullets, they have got to have that ball. And I don't believe the Bullets are going to give it up that easy.
50-49. George Gervin picking up the points. He has 12 for the afternoon. Kevin Greavy. Boy, he's got nice touch.
Yes, he does. And I think Kevin, he plays a lot like Campy Russell, the Cavaliers. He plays much better with pressure when he's beaten on or getting hit on his shots.
6 points in the game now for Kevin Greavy. 1 point lead for Washington. Gervin now, he's starting to heat up.
Well, the Iceman's thawing out, so I guess he's going to go to work now.
He had only 10 points in that first half. He has the first 2 field goals in the second half. 52-51, a seesaw affair here. Elvin Hayes. Hayes is fouled. Elvin Hayes now with 15 points, the leading scorer on the floor. It's all tied up here, 52 all. This game, after Washington took an 8-point lead in the first period, has been a 1-point seesaw affair all afternoon long. Bringing it down is Mike Green. Green committed that foul just before the delay in action. His second of the afternoon, and this is Green again. Mark Olberding. Keenan kept it alive, and Green's got it. Watch this move. Oh,
my God, unbelievable.
That is something. 54-52, the Spurs are the lead. Boy, he's got those huge hands, and what he can do with the ball. Kupchak in trouble. Elvin Hayes, Unseld in a foul, and it is rugged underneath.
Yes, it is. Those horses are keeping that ball alive in there. Mitch Kupchak lost control of the ball, finally got a shot up. Hayes tapped at it, missed it. Unseld tapped at it, kept alive, and got a foul.
Jess Kersey, the new official, calling that one. That was a foul on Keenan, and that is his second. So Wes Unseld will have a pair of shots coming. This guy's always had trouble at the free throw line.
Yes, he has. And you know, the amazing thing about it is the guy's not a bad shooter. I think what the problem is there, Unseld just does a little bit too much thinking.
We welcome our Knicks and 76ers viewers here in the Hemisphere Arena. It's a 1-point game here. San Antonio leading by 154-53. Mike Gale chases the ball down to the backcourt. George Gervin has 2 field goals and now 3 in the second half of play.
Iceman's ready. I think he knows it because he's coming up. He's waving at the ball. He's telling him, I want that ball.
He has 16 points. A moment ago, we saw one of the fine plays of the day, and Larry Keenan making a move inside. And this is Mike Green with a rebound, and San Antonio with this sellout crowd now really starting to get it up. There's Keenan again. He hit that shot just a moment ago.
Yes, he did, but it's not an ideal shot to be taken under these conditions, right? If you're 10, 15, 20 points up, going down the stretch, maybe yes.
Henderson can't get it to go. Oberding brings it down, and they come out to Gervin. Gervin had 10 points in the first half, hitting only 4 of 11, but he is hot now.
I like it. And the thing that's happening now, the Bullets should call a timeout because the Spurs are running at him. They're bringing the ball to him.
You know, San Antonio starts running, and then they start running again. They just pick it up another click or 2.
Yes, they do.
18 points for George Gervin. Kevin Greavy. Greavy not getting the ball to drop for him today. Elvin Hayes had 9 rebounds in the first half. Kupchak.
Very nice pass in there by Greavy. He knew that if he took the ball to the hoop, that the big man Green would have probably gotten a shot. Underhand pass to Kupchak for the dunk.
58-55 San Antonio. Out to Green. Green seeing a lot of action instead of Billy Pultz. Here's Gervin again. Now that's tough.
Oh, there's no shot on the floor that's tough for the Iceman. He can bring it to you from any direction at any angle.
Gus Johnson, he is now 5 of 5 in the second half.
I have seen the guy go like 8, 7, 9, 10 shots in a row.
60-55 Kupchak. It's a long ways out for him to be shooting. Here's Greavy. Boy, look at the crowd he draws. And Elvin Hayes always around the hoop.
Mr. Reliable, Mr. Dependent, right there. Big hoop when you need it.
The Big E now with 17 points. A 3-point lead for the Spurs. Keenan looking off to Gale. Keenan always moving without the ball. He got open.
Well, I'll tell you, they start running, they get their confidence together, they'll take any shot on the floor.
They have not missed a shot in the second half. San Antonio is deadly, and now Elvin Hayes has 19 points.
Well, he's the same way. He can get started and rattle off 8 or 9 straight for you right quick.
62-59, and it is torrid right now. Here's Keenan, Hayes, and I believe Elvin got the foul, didn't he? Yes, he did. He tried to come away with the foul, but instead he picked it up himself, and we have a timeout. The San Antonio Spurs trailed by 1 at halftime, but they've jumped to a 62-59 lead. And Gus, they've hit 7 of 9 from the field in this third period. George Gervin, 5 of 5.
George Gervin's red hot right now. But you know an amazing statistic? They started this game here, the Spurs, in the second half without Billy Paultz. I think what they did was to give up that scoring for some quickness and some more board strength.
Boy, Mark Olberding and Kupchak having a real battle. They were shoving and pushing. As an end result, Kupchak comes away with the foul.
Well, here they go down inside here. Oberding has him down inside, which Mitch is in the wrong position to be playing this man. You can't let a man come down and post you that low. An official is always going to catch the second bump anyway.
That's Kupchak's first foul. Mark Olberding, you know, this guy to me is really playing much better than a year ago. He looks like he's been around the league for a year, as he has.
Well, he seems to be very poised. He's not getting rattled, and he's doing the job. They've got an outstanding team on the floor.
64-59. San Antonio with the lead. We've got a lot of basketball yet. 7.5 minutes here in the third period. Unsel. Off to Kevin Greavy. That's a tough shot, but Kevin Greavy can hit him with the best of them.
Well, he likes that shot. He's always wanting to move on his shot. I think he looks for that body contact out there.
64-61. Green still playing in the pivot in place of Billy Paultz. Oberding, and Oberding is just forcing it in.
Well, they're making a tremendous mistake. This is how the Bullets started off this game, with Unseld rolling across the tee. Now they're doing the same thing with Oberding, and you cannot let a man lead you across the middle down that low.
Greg Ballard picked up by Oberding. 2 rugged forwards, and I mean rugged. Off it comes Unseld. 9 seconds on the shot clock. Greavy coming away. That's Keenan.
All the way with it.
Off to Gale, and Gale always around. Blocked beautifully.
Beautiful block by Greg Ballard to reach over and get that.
And the big rookie takes it all away.
He brought it the length of the floor and took it all the way in.
66-63. I think that play shows how intense this game is.
Well, they're doing over, switching up, changing men's, helping out, weak side help. They're doing all the things you have to do to be effective.
Gale missing the open shot. Elvin Hayes, the leading rebounder in this game, comes down with another one. Here's Tom Henderson. Henderson picked up by Gale.
Right now, if those perimeter jump shots stop going in for the Spurs, they're going to be in big trouble because the Bullets can't overman them on the board.
Kevin Greavy trying one. Here comes Keenan. Boy, he starts that break, doesn't he? Look at him.
Yes,
Here comes to the Iceman. That's the first shot he's missed, but he came back.
I tell you, that's what you call second effort, extra determination. He shot the shot, came back, got his own shot, stuffed the shot in.
Well, the last time he played, he had 63 points. Now he has 22. It's 68-63, and he had only 10 and a half. So he's already outscored what he did in the first half of play. Gale. Keenan. What was that?
I don't know where he's getting that double pump shot for, but I think it's time the Bullets took a timeout, and I think that's just what Coach Mata's going to do.
They're going wild here in the Hemisphere Arena. A standing room only crowd. 5 minutes, 25 seconds to go. Third period. It's San Antonio up now by 7.
The Spurs went on to win behind 35 points from Gervin, and in Game 2, Ice poured in 46. But the Spurs lost in 6 games against a Bullet team that went on to win the championship. Still, it was a banner year for Gervin, who finished second in the MVP voting behind Bill Walton. Up next, on to the 1979 playoffs as the Spurs face Dr. J and the Sixers. And just to get you into that 79 mindset, here's a little something to think about. By their third NBA season, the San Antonio Spurs were poised to make a run at the championship. Leading the way, of course, was George Gervin, who won his second consecutive scoring title. In the playoffs, he faced his former teammate Dr. J and the Sixers. With the Spurs leading 2-1, we go back to Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The date is April 22nd, 1979, as you'll realize when you see the outfit on Spurs coach Doug Moe. But don't try to adjust your set. The Spurs lead by 6 late in the fourth at the Spectrum in Philadelphia.
2:27 remaining following our telecast. See Seattle at Los Angeles. The Spurs lead by 6. Tim Ryan and Steve Jones. We have had a thriller here at the Spectrum. Dr. J underneath, and he makes it. Through 3 Spurs, Irving with a reverse layup. 106-102.
Irving had all kinds of trouble getting the basketball, and he finally got one. And again, all the success has been down in deep, and Silas backs him in.
Silas watched by Money. Silas, and that won't go, but the follow is good. Green, I believe.
They're going to call a goal. Take that
No
basket away. Cunningham jumps off his feet. Doug Moe is off his, and he can't believe it. That ball was out. I grabbed my head. What do you want me to do?
No basket is the final verdict. And look at this one. They're tied at the Omni in Atlanta. 1:53 to go. San Antonio by 4. Irving watched by Keenan, gets way up with the jumper, but he misses. Follow Bobby Jones. 106-104. San Antonio slowing it down for the first time today. Gervin slowly up court over the timeline. Backing in on Cheeks. Gervin trying to go up was fouled by Maurice Cheeks.
Well, Cheeks is in a very difficult situation. Anytime Gervin can bring the ball up slowly like that and just back him down and break him down. Right here, he decides he wants a shot right there. Cheeks trying to reach in, gets him across the arm. Gervin on the line. Another 80%er. Not a good man to foul. The Spurs can extend their lead to 4 with 1:29 left.
107-104. Second and 2. Gervin.
Just a little bit slower. Draw it out. 108-104.
There it is. 1:28 to go. Cheeks quickly down court. In the corner, Eric Money. And it's off the foot of James Silas. Money, Cheeks, Caldwell Jones, Irving, and Bobby Jones for Philadelphia.
They've gone back with Irving down in deep, but they just can't get him the ball. He's in deep. He's got good position.
Money outside of Bobby Jones, batted away by Gervin. Gervin with Silas. Gervin will take it and score. 110 make it. 110-104. And Cunningham calls it timeout. A big play, a steal and a layup by George Gervin as the Spurs in front by 6, 1:11 to go. Philadelphia brings it in from midcourt. And the Doctor hits the jumper. Irving closes it to 4 again. 1:05 to play.
The 76ers now need some of that good defensive pressure that they had earlier. Make the Spurs put the ball up, come back down, and get themselves another hoop. They're still in the ball game. 54 seconds left as Gervin lets the time tick away.
Gervin, Silas, Olberding, Green, and Keenan. For the Spurs, a long jumper from George Gervin. He's got 30 points, and the last 2 have been clutch baskets. The Doctor hits in the clutch from the baseline back to 4. 40 seconds remaining. Spurs bring it in. Silas, pressure from Cheeks. Silas hollers for help, gets it from Olberding.
They're trying to double up out here in front, force a turnover and get a quick steal. Irving's all over Silas. Again, they fouled the wrong man, but Silas doing the smart thing, keeping the ball in his hands, not trying to make a pass. He'll go to the free throw line, and again, some easy, cheap points have really hurt the 76ers trying to make a comeback.
28 seconds remaining, 112-108. Certainly George Gervin with 2 big baskets back-to-back and 30 points on the game has to be one of the stars along with Mark Olberding for the Spurs, but MVP is what it says, most valuable player. I've still got to go with Maurice Cheeks, win, lose, or tie.
Well, win, lose, or draw, you made a fairly good decision. I like Mark Olberding because he's kept the 76ers in there. So, I mean, the Spurs in there, so we'll put the burden on David Fox, our producer.
Doubleheader action to follow, and we'll also go to Atlanta for the conclusion of their game. We've got 28 seconds left here. A 5-point lead, Philadelphia ball, San Antonio in front. Eric Money Irving on the rebound. Banks it in. It's down to 3. Green will inbound to Silas. 2 men on him. And he's forced out by Bobby Jones, and it's going to be
It's the Sixers' ball. They got the ball right there. They put
not a foul.
Kenny Middleton makes the call. He says that the Sixers have the ball. Cheeks has it. They'll probably come back to Irving again.
15 seconds left. The doctor to Bobby Jones. Jones hits and scores. 113 to 112 on Silas. Now Cheeks.
They can't let the clock run out. They've got to foul somebody to get a chance to get the game back in.
There's Gervin. He's going to be
fouled. The game is over.
The buzzer has sounded, and it's all over. It is all over. They point up to the clock as the call was made. The foul would appear to have been on Irving. And let's see. They're going to the line. Gervin is going to the line. He was fouled just before the buzzer. And it won't matter at all because the Spurs have a 113 to 112 lead. Gervin gets a freebie here and hits it. 114, and he'll have one more.
Jumping up and down like a little schoolboy, really excited because now they go back to San Antonio with a 3-1 lead and a chance to close it out at home.
So Gervin hits a pair that don't really matter. 32 points on the night. The San Antonio Spurs, 115. The Philadelphia 76ers, 112.
The Spurs won that series in 7 games. Then in the Eastern Conference Finals, they took a 3-1 lead on Washington, only to lose in 7. And that was as close as George Gervin ever came to the NBA Finals. But he continued to be a dominating scorer, averaging 26 points a game for his career and playing in 12 All-Star games. He finished his career in 1986 with the Chicago Bulls, giving them some much-needed offense in the absence of their injured star. A second-year player named Michael Jordan. Up next, a look at the legacy Gervin has left behind. When you look at George Gervin's impact on the game, it has been large in more ways than one. At 6'8", Gervin helped usher in a new kind of NBA player, the big guard. The Iceman was one of the first, but he wasn't the original. That distinction belonged to the Big O, Oscar Robertson. At 6'5", he had the size of a forward, but the skills and versatility of a guard. Oscar retired in 1974, but 5 years later, his successor arrived. That's right, Magic Johnson. At 6'9", Johnson redefined the. His height gave him the ability to see over the defense, and his passing and ball handling skills had never been seen before in a player his size. The lineage continued into the 90s with 6'8" Penny Hardaway, who can not only run the offense from the point guard spot, but also use his size to post up smaller guards down low. But while some of today's NBA players have added a little ice to their games, there's one thing that no one has been able to do quite like George Gervin, and that is finger roll.
I haven't seen anybody like the Iceman.
I don't think nobody can finger roll like the Iceman.
Hey, they were definitely impressed. It's not easy to imitate the finger roll. But many players have been able to copy Gervin's trademark high socks. In the 1980s, the Lakers' Michael Cooper was known for wearing them up high. Another player who adopted the style, Adrian Dantley of the Pistons. In the 90s, others have carried on the high socks tradition, including the Nets' Keith Van Horn. And there's also the big dog, Glenn Robinson of the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Portland Trailblazers' Walt Williams, who grew up watching Gervin and wanted to be just like Ice.
His style was, basically the biggest thing. I like the high socks he wears, and so I wore them in practice a few times. Then I pulled them down in a game, and I just felt uncomfortable playing with my socks down.
Look at the play by Williams. Oh, me, oh my. Another ooh and an ah, and a how about that?
Yeah, Walt Williams, another player who still has the Iceman poster hanging on his wall. Maybe you still have yours too. You might also have an opinion on which current players measure up to George Gervin. You can tell us by emailing us on NBA.com and give us your thoughts on Gervin, or the latest trends in socks, or maybe even coin some new NBA nicknames. We'll take it. We'll be right back. George Gervin had many great years as a player, but one of his favorite years came a decade after he retired. It was 1996 when he was named one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history and also was elected to the Basketball Hall of Fame. George will be remembered not just for his accomplishments, but also his unforgettable images, the smooth style, explosive scoring, yep, and also the finger roll. They are images of the Iceman that will always be frozen in time. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Robin Roberts, and we'll look for you the next time with more Vintage NBA.
Irving said, amongst other things, Iceman, you're the most exciting player I have ever seen play. Magic Johnson said, Mr. Iceman, you're the one that showed us how to play the big guard game.